I wish I could say words better. Welcome back, everyone, to the Blue Fiber Corner podcast. And I think I did that correctly this time. I went back and I was editing the last episode and I realized I completely butchered the name like 4 times. So hopefully you saw that. But yes, welcome back. It's been a couple weeks here now for me since I've recorded anything related to knitting. It's been just very busy in my life, and so that's how things go. Most of that time I wasn't doing a ton of knitting. I mean, I still was knitting some, but I wasn't doing a ton. Although when I went back and I looked at all the things that I had to show today, it was more than I thought. So I had been working on setting up for a convention out in the Twin Cities, Convergence Convention. It was a lot of fun my first year going. My friends and I held one of the party rooms there. It was Final Fantasy 14 / Jimmy Buffett Margaritaville themed. We called it Mooglaritaville. It was a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to next year already. But it was a lot of work also. So leading up to the convention, I was very stressed out and I did not do a ton of fibering. And now that the convention's over, I'm back at it again and I'm having a blast. So here to share my little updates in the world. Okay, first up, I think I want to tell you all about my time at the Wool Inn. So my local fiber group, which I've told you about before, held a weekend staycation fiber event here in New Glarus, Wisconsin, where we had a bunch of different people come in from obviously all over the area, but then also even a couple other states came in, and we all just, in one of the conference rooms in the hotel, we had a convention, like a mini little convention. So it was 2.5 days long, Friday, Saturday, half of Sunday, and it was amazing. It was lovely. I got so much spinning done. I was in like a fugue state, which I'll show you in a little bit. But it was just a lot of fun. Jillian Marino came out and taught us a class, which I learned a ton. And I'm working my way through her book right now, so enjoying that a lot. We had door prizes. We had a fiber pool, which is where you bring in either 4 or 8 ounces. You split it into a bunch of small little like knots of fiber, essentially. Throw them in the pool, and then you get in what you put, or you get back out what you put in. So people ended up with all sorts of different colors, and so it's a lot of fun to then try to make some sort of spin project out of that result. We had a special colorway that was dyed for us, which, I can show you that as well. I forgot to put that on my list, but it's very cool. So Honey Gold Acres, which I've talked about before, actually semi-local to us in our same region, right? Has come to the Wisconsin Knitter's Guild before. I was able to dye up a custom colorway for us, and so I got a whole bunch of that to show off as well. But yeah, it was honestly super amazing. Definitely we're doing it again next year, and I can't wait for that either. But with that being said, so that was the little bit of life news. That happened like right after I posted the last episode, and then I had like 2 weeks of doing nothing except working on that convention that I told you about. So it's been about a week of recovery since then, and I'm ready to show you everything. So first up, one of my finished objects from last time, the Meadowland Baby Afghan by Irina Polundnenko. I knit this in Lion Brain Mandala, Kraken, and Werewolf, 2 different colorways. And I don't have it with me because it was a gift. It's a baby blanket for a friend of mine, but I did get a picture of it right before I handed it over, so I'll show that here now. This is the second time I've made this blanket, and I'll probably make more. It's just a lovely quick garter triangle blanket knit, whatever. DK weight, knits up very fast. And just you could do a lot of cool things with the colors, with the 2 different sort of alternating stripes. So very happy with how it came out. I washed it before I gave it over to them, and it is so stinking soft now. I mean, it's baby. It's meant for baby. So hopefully little baby will enjoy it very soon. If you want to hear more about that project, check out the last episode, I think, or even the one before that. I talk about it with a bit more depth. Next up, one of the things I showed you last time was some new fiber that came in from Fossil Fibers. I believe I had just started spinning it, and I was planning on doing a fractal spin. So that is done. Ta-da! So this is not all of it, and I'll explain that in a minute, but it came out really beautifully. So one of the first things I learned, though, if you're doing a fractal spin, after you split it, you should probably weigh it to make sure the split is even. So I ended up with a fractal spin. I did a 3-ply. So I had split it into, I thought, about even thirds, and then each of those sort of sections you do smaller and smaller with segments, which basically makes the color repeats more frequent in that single. So I did that, and I was plying. It was coming out really great. I was loving it. And then one of my singles ran out completely. So this is actually one of the true fractal results. And then at that point I was like, well, I can't redistribute the color repeats because the singles are already done. So I guess I'm just going to chain ply the rest. So that's actually where this little ball came from, which, I mean, it's not that little in comparison. It was a single braid. So I really did not split my braid evenly. But this is what's left over. And so I had like a whole ball. It was a little bit bigger than this one. I had a whole ball of this, fractal that I had spun up that obviously you don't see here right now. And why is that, Cyrus? You might be asking. You're probably not asking. Well, I used this right away. So I finished spinning it, right? I, washed it, whatever. Finished it all out, measured how much I had. And then right around that same time, I joined in a test knit for a beautiful little summer kerchief bandana thing with Alicia Plum on Instagram. So that kerchief is completely done. It is on Ravelry. I believe I'm allowed to share it, but I'm not allowed to share like finished pictures. So I'll give you like a quick sneak peek, but you don't get to see it super long because I want to show off this fiber. So 1 second. Okay, ready? Ta-da! This is what you get real quick. And then whoosh, it's gone. So this is a cartridge rib, beautiful little kerchief bandana. I believe the pattern releases in early September, and it releases in conjunction with a new Woolen spun yarn, which I'm very excited to hear more about. I obviously used my hand spun for this, but because there was a limited quantity of the new yarn available, and I unfortunately did not get to try it out. So, but very excited to see it when it comes out. The pattern itself, though, great little pattern, very summery. I want to make multiple of them. I've been wearing it all the time. It's a lovely little warm weather way to spice up your wardrobe and show off some of your handmade objects. But yeah, so as you can see, I used up all of this yarn already essentially, although I do have some left over, which I think I have another couple like about this size balls of other hand spun that I've used in projects previously, and I think I might make a like crochet, I don't know if you've seen them, crochet stegosaurus dinosaur out of, I think it's like an African flower motif, something. Anyway, when that gets started, you'll hear more about it. But that is where that project went. So yeah. The other big finished object that I have today to show off, and that was like a twofer, is my Fireflies yarn. So at the Wool Inn, I spent most of the weekend, if not basically the entire weekend, on my treadle wheel working on this fiber. And I'll show it to you right now. So, this is what I finished. Ta-da! Whoop. That was a close one. Let's see if we can make this more stable of a stack. So ta-da! This is it. The colorway is called Fireflies. It is the fiber was from Hidden Valley Farm and Woolen Mill, I believe, also Wisconsin based. I picked it up at Wisconsin Sheep and Wool in 2023. So that was 2 years ago now, almost. Right after I had started spinning in early summer, late spring of that year. So, being very enthusiastic new spinner, I was like, yes, I'm going to get a bunch of fiber in this cool Firefly colorway. It is, 90% Coopworth, 10% silk. So the green bits in there, those are silk nips. And it's, I believe, UV reactive, if not also glow in the dark. So very, very cool fiber. And so picked up a bunch of this fiber, and I was like, surely if I get 3 balls of fiber, that should be plenty to make, I don't know, a cute vest, right? Something smaller, but like a garment for one of my first spinning projects. And so I started spinning that up, and I did not enjoy it that much. So it's not the fiber's fault. I was still very new, and I did not know how to deal with inclusions like the silk neps yet. Had no practice, and it was a lot of fiber. So I, had no sense of scale for how much 3 balls would end up being. Turns out it was 24 ounces. So that was a lot of fiber. So I spun, I think, this first skein, this first ball, and then let that sit on the bobbin for 2 years almost. So then at the wool, and my goal, my mission of the weekend was to finish this dang fiber. I brought other things to spin, but once I started, I was like, I'm gonna finish this. This will be done. I want to make something with it. So that is what I did, and as you can see, it went well. Not only did I do the singles for all 3 of these, I also plied all 3 of these. This was the only one that was already done. So yeah, almost 24 ounces of fiber. I do still have on the bobbins, I have 2 singles left from this first round, actually, because when I was applying this did not all fit back onto a bobbin. So I still have some singles left, which I will eventually ply up. These are 2 plies, I don't know, worsted weight-ish, and the singles that are left over are pretty thin. So I think what I'm going to do is just chain ply that leftover thin fiber or thin single into like a 3-ply, and then hope that it's closer in weight to these boys. But yeah, so that was the saga of this dang wool. I finished it on Saturday night at like midnight, and I had been going since at least 10 a.m. on Saturday. So it was like 14 hours of spinning with a break for food in there a couple times, but I was locked in. And I have, I don't remember, I didn't write down off the top of my head, but I mean, this is like 500 yards. Let's see, this is like, I don't know, 200-ish, a little less. This is some other amount, probably in that same realm, 237 yards. I have them all measured out and weighed and such. But I believe I have enough here for a cardigan. So I'm going to make a big squishy wool cardigan in this lovely dark blue, green nep wool, fiber, hand spun, whatever. And I think I'm going to make, this was a lovely suggestion from someone who was at the Wool Inn, so shout out Laura, the Gramps cardigan. I want to see if I can get a friend to dye up the contrast color in a similar green to these neps for like the collar and the elbow patches and I think the pockets, right? So yes, that will be a very exciting project that I start hopefully this fall. And of course, you'll hear all about it when we get there. But that's my last finished object for today, which I think, all things considered, with everything else I had going on in life, that was pretty good for me. Almost 24 ounces of fiber. We'll call that plenty. Next up, this would be a finished object if it was finished, and you'll see why it's not in a minute. Let me get rid of these. All right, so next up, this should be a finished object. If we were in a different timeline, it would be a finished object, but we'll just pretend. I'll show you what it is, and I'll show you why. If any of you recognize this sweater here, so This sweater is my version of the Lute by Martin Storey. I call it my all fluffed up sweater. It is made out of blue sky fibers, Prairie in the Katydid colorway, this sort of green chartreuse color here, and then in Rowan fine tweed Haze in Mist, Ash, and Nero. So I believe Mist, Ash, and then Nero at the end. First off, I mean, look how cool that looks. It's this great color block sweater. I love it. Second off, it doesn't fit quite right. So it is a sweater that is knit in pieces. You knit the back panel, then the front panel, then the two sleeves, and then you seam it together. So I'm at the stage right now where I am supposed to have seamed it together, right? I finished the collar. I finished all the pieces. I started to seam it together. And then I put it on to try it on because you can't really try on the pieces that easily. Okay, to be fair, I could have definitely seen this coming if I had tried it on sooner or held up the pieces to myself, but I didn't do that, and we're here now. The arms are too small. The body is fine, okay, but the arm circumference is too small. It doesn't meet under the arm. And now, maybe I could do some convoluted nonsense to make that work, but I think I'm just going to take the arms back off. I have so much yarn left over for this project. I'm going to take the arms back off, and I'm just going to re-knit the arms in 2 sizes up, and I'll tell you why 2 sizes. If you remember, this sweater is actually cursed, I think. If you remember, or if you've watched the previous episodes, I've made multiple mistakes on the sizing and the pattern for this sweater. And again, it's not really the pattern's fault. It's mostly my fault, because apparently I can't read. I didn't used to have this problem, but that's a new development. I can't read anymore. So I originally, in the pattern, in my PDF, I have highlighted all of the size 3 measurements and stitch counts and everything, all the instructions for size 3 for this sweater. I intended to make size 3 of the sweater. And then I get to, here on the back, I realize I cast on the total amount for size 1 and not size 3. So I don't know what happened, because actually I had to cast it on twice. I cast it on once in the wrong color, presumably for size 3. And I cast it on again in the correct color, but apparently in size 1. And I didn't notice until I was at the shoulders. I was very sad about that, and I was like, I am not redoing this entire back panel. Maybe I should have at that point, honestly. Maybe we wouldn't be here anymore. But, so, knit the whole back panel, knit the shoulders, whatever. It's fine. It's a very oversized sweater fit, and I think that's maybe where I went wrong, is I saw how big size 3 was actually going to be on me, and I said, I don't think I want it that big. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I did the length for size 3, but I did the width for size 1. So then when I went to do the front, I had to do the same thing. I had to, of course, now knit the width for size 1 and the length for size 3 so that they would match up. And then I went to do the arms, and this was the fatal mistake. I was sitting there, and I was looking at the pattern, and I was trying to decide what size to cast on. And I think maybe I had gone back and re-highlighted, cleared out all the old highlights of size 3 and highlighted size 1. So I cast on for size 1 for the arms, which that was the mistake. I should have cast on size 3 for the arms, because that's the size that I intended to make for this sweater. So yeah, cast on for size 1, and then knit an entire arm, and then halfway through the arm I was like, I wonder if this is gonna fit. Oh well. Proceeded to completely ignore that thought and knit an entire other sleeve. Anyway, so that's why this is not done. I fully intended for this dang project to be done. But I'm my own worst enemy here. Oh well. So I will finish this eventually. is in timeout right now because I could not be bothered to reknit those sleeves at the moment. Instead, I'll show you what I've been knitting. Okay, so right after I had that unfortunate realization with that sweater that it wasn't going to fit right and that I had to redo the sleeves, I cast on a new project instead. So the sows here that I've talked about before, a local yarn store near me, they had a sale for the summer of knitting for Olive. All of their knitting for Olive. They have pure silk and heavy merino, I believe, in stock in the store. So I have been eyeing up the pure silk since it came in, and I have a friend who made something with it, which came out lovely, lovely, lovely. So I really have been meaning to make something out of the pure silk, and I just haven't gotten around to it, right? Well, I was worried that because it was on sale, it was going to be disappearing soon, so I got some. It was, I think, buy 3, get 1 free, 25% off, however you want to think of that. And I picked it up in this lovely deep petroleum blue color, which I absolutely love, very me color. And so I'm making a t-shirt. You know what? It's summer. Screw that sweater. We're making a t-shirt now. So this is where we're at. It is a top-down raglan. This is the Friday tee by PetiteKnit. I'm calling it my ocean tee because deep petroleum blue. And top-down raglan in broken rib, essentially. Very simple but tasteful little t-shirt. I have split for the sleeves. I'm a couple inches into the body. I just attached my 3rd ball here. I have 4 balls total. I think I might do a little more of the body and then go back and knit the sleeves to see how much yarn I'm going to have. Because at this point, I'm getting a little worried about the length. So if we look on the inside, let's see. I'll just flip it inside out. Here, right here, this is where the last ball ended. And then, so this is about how much I've knitted with 1 ball of the yarn. But of course, I did this much of the yoke. So I'm hoping that, with sleeves, they're smaller circumference. I think it'll work out just fine. Because if we extrapolate like that much more on the body, that's still a little short, but I'm not going to use a whole ball for both the sleeves. So maybe it'll work out. Or this will go into a pile with that other sweater. No, it'll be fine. It'll work out. Yeah. And looking at the pattern and looking at the pictures of the finished object on the designer's page, the sleeves are a little bit longer. They're like down to here maybe. And I don't think I need my sleeves to be that long. I might do a normal like t-shirt length sleeve, just like what I'm wearing. So that should help with the yarn management as well. I think. That's what I'm betting on. That's what I decided when I picked this pattern. Because looking at the yardage, it's pretty close for the size that I'm making. But yeah, love it. Flying through it. It's also definitely going to need a good blocking. So when I did my gauge swatch, the gauge that I'm coming in at unblocked is definitely a lot tighter, right? Smaller, tighter than the gauge of the actual pattern. But when I blocked it, it blocked like perfectly to, I blocked it pretty aggressively. I pinned it in place. But when I blocked it, it blocked out really well to the gauge of the pattern. So I'm going to probably have to do the same for the first blocking of this. I'm going to have to stretch a little bit into shape. But it should work out, I think. Only other thing to talk about with this. So this is not an issue of me not reading. This was an issue of me not counting very well. So I had to do surgery on this guy, which you can see maybe here. I have a picture. I was about, 80% through the raglan when I realized that my count was off. And by my count was off, I was counting the stitches and I was calculating how many more rows I had to do before I could split for sleeves or before I was supposed to split for sleeves. And I realized one shoulder had less stitches than the other shoulder. And I was trying to figure out why that was. And then I looked at the raglan and I realized my raglan had an extra stitch in it. It was supposed to end and start on a knit stitch, and instead it started on a purl stitch. So what I had done is my marker was in the wrong place. I had absorbed one of these stitches from the shoulder into the raglan, which I should not have done. Now, I could have just left that alone. Everything would have been fine if I had left it alone. I don't think it would have made that much of a difference, but I looked at it and I could kind of tell it looks a little bit different than all the other seams, and you're gonna be able to see it. So what if I just drop all the way down and then re-knit that entire triangle, which is what I did. So it's very doable, just a little bit tedious, especially with how fine this yarn is. So I'm knitting this on, let's see, twos, I think. Yeah, these are twos, and the ribbing is on ones. So pretty small needles, all things considered. I don't have a crochet hook in a size that would be great for picking up stitches like that. So I had to use the needles to do my surgery. Everything worked out more or less. I got all the stitches back on. My final stitch count was correct, which that was great. But sure enough, I did finish picking up all those stitches again, and then I realized that the panel that I had corrected was one row off from the main body. So if we're thinking a broken rib, it's like one row is a knit stitch all across, and the second row is a knit, purl, right? A rib. But my problem was, for my corrected section, when it was supposed to be a knit across, it was knit, purl. And when it was supposed to be a knit, purl, it was knit across. So, or sorry, not knit across. Yeah, knit across. So we're living with that. So I decided, I looked at it and I was like, I could drop back down and I could redo surgery, re-pick up all of the stitches. But I think I'll just end up back in the same place that I am now. I did not have confidence that I would be able to actually figure out the correct row to be on, or the correct repeat of the pattern to be on from looking at it, because I thought when I looked at it originally to pick up that I had done it right, and apparently I didn't. So all that to say, I'm still pretty happy with this. And you can't tell. Look at that arm. You can't tell. I don't think you can tell. It's fine. We're living with it. But so I've got a little extra stitch marker here on the arm, and I'm just going to have to keep that pattern flowing through till the end of the sleeve. Oh well, but this should be done, I don't know, soon enough. Maybe. We'll see. And then maybe I'll go back and finish the other sweater. Or I think I might swatch for the Witching Hour sweater to make a Halloween sweater. Which, if I do, I'm going to try to record the process in like a project vlog, because I anticipate making changes to that pattern as I go. So I think that might be fun to join along and see how it goes. I think the pattern is written to be more of like a swancho, right? So like very low under the arm and like very wide in the body. I think I'd prefer a normal fit, like a tighter fit for the sweater. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully you'll get to come along for that ride. With that, I only have one more whip to show you real quick. Not much to show for it. But it is a spin. So right now I'm actually waiting on some parts for my spinning wheel because one of the plastic pieces broke, which I'm the third owner of this wheel and I've had it for a couple years now and used it, pretty heavily. Totally understandable. But I'm chomping at the bit to be back to spinning. But anyway, so I am working on right here. This is called Gray and Teal by Three Waters Farm. It is a superwash merino nylon blend, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And I'm calling it Gravy. That's the name of the project in my Ravelry. But I've got, let's see, 4 4-ounce braids of this, I believe. Yes, I have 4 4-ounce braids of this. And I have a gray and green from Three Waters Farm that I already spun up previously. So my goal, I'm doing this in like a sport weight / DK, somewhere in between those two. And my goal is to have enough yardage at the end of this to make the Traveler hoodie by Andrew Mallory. So that project is going to be in the works for a while, but I'm almost done the first braid, which is here. And then, of course, I have 3 more to do. And then have all this plied together, measure how much yardage I have. And then a friend has some additional Three Waters Farm in like a gray, blue. There's a bit of copper in there as well. That is on hold for me just in case I need extra yardage. So I should have enough, I think, between 1, 2, 6 times 4 ounces. I should have enough. But I don't know, that hoodie, the hood adds a lot of yardage. So I think we'll be okay, but I'll keep you updated as that progresses. But yeah, with that, the last thing I wanted to share today was just acquisition. It doesn't count though, I didn't pay for it. So it's part of my gift for my birthday this year was like a couple months subscription to Fossil Fiber's Pie of the Month Club. So the second one came in. The Rainier Cherry Pie that I made the bandana out of, the Fractal spin. Same club, basically. That was the first, this is the second. But it is just so pretty that I have to share. So this is it. It's beautiful. 3 guesses. Tell me in the comments what pie you think this would be. With that, I will share. It is blueberry pie, which, I mean, with the yellow in there too, very blueberry, very clever. I like it a lot. This is 85% BFL, 15% silk. So very excited to spin this up. I love a BFL. And yeah, not sure. This is on the back burner though. I have to finish the Three Waters Farm first because I want to make that hoodie. So very excited to see what else comes. I only got the 3 months of the club, so can't wait to see what comes for the 3rd month. Maybe it's something I can pair this with. That would be very fun. Yeah, that's about it. Last little update. A friend of mine reached out to a Discord server that I'm in and was asking about someone doing shawl commissions for them. So they wanted to have like a lovely wool shawl for the for the winter. And I said I would knit them one. So they're paying for materials. They are paying a little bit for time. I know that it's not like a money-making scheme. It's just a fun collaborative project between a friend. We got to sort of pick out different colors together, pick out patterns together. And it's something that I think I'm going to really enjoy knitting. And hopefully they get a lot of enjoyment out of it as well. So that's a project that you'll see next time because that yarn is in the mail. But again, it doesn't count as an acquisition because I did not buy it. But that's it for this episode. So thank you so much for coming along this journey with me. Hopefully the next episode won't be so long. I'll try to get it out sooner. And if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, all the things. It just tells YouTube to show my video to other people, which I appreciate. Otherwise, I hope you're having a great day. Let me know what you were working on, and stay safe out there. Bye!